genuinely don't realise how much your immediate family hold you back when they don't believe in you. So sometimes you just have to cut them strings.
How many management properties do you have now, roughly?
We've got about 40 with another 6 in the pipeline. So I went onto that same site 3 times before I got anything from them. But off the back of that, I got a £56,000 booking. I'm going to buy and sell, I'm going to build my own portfolio. And I very clearly remember one of the girls on my shift said in front of everybody else, just ignore Ellie, she's a bit obscene in what she's thinking, she'll come back down to earth and she'll be policing here for the next 3 years.
Where some people would look and be like, oh, I feel bad because I'm not doing that. You're asking, how does she do that? What is it that she's doing differently?
Ellie, you've got to fend for yourself now, which was the scariest thing. Leaving the police, not a problem. It was just the actual jump to trust myself and to be able to do it.
What's stopping anyone listening from doing any of the things that you've done?
There is absolutely no excuse.
In this episode, I am joined by Ellie, who is one of our Academy members doing absolutely incredible things and at such a young age. We're going to break down what she's been doing, how she's been doing it, so you can go away and do exactly the same as well. So Ellie, welcome to this episode. Thank you for making the journey down from Tup North. How was your journey?
North. Yeah, trains, they're great. Public transport, who loves it? Not me.
I gather you bumped into a bit of a fire on the way?
Yes, London Bridge was literally burning down, so yeah.
But let's hope it's there when we come back. So, Ellie, how old are you as of today?
As of today, I am 23 years old.
23 years old. And give me a very quick summary and then we'll unpack the how you did what you did of where you're at right now. So what sort of property deals have you got on? What sort of things are you managing? What are you doing in property?
So what am I doing? What am I not doing is probably the best question. I started out with rent to rents. From my previous job, police officer, didn't have the funds, was never brought into money as of such. So rent to rent chose me as my strategy. Started off with my rent to rents naturally because I was just out there constantly getting trades from sites. That's progressed into management. So now I've got a management company with around 40 houses in. I've got through the Academy private finance, so I'm buying deals, refurbs, refinances, leaseholds, and we do a little bit of sourcing as well for people that are wanting to go up, people that are wanting to be up north.
Up north. So we've got management. We'll break down what that means, what that looks like, how you do that. We've got rent to rent.
Yeah.
We've got, which chose you, using your words.
Chose me, yes.
We've got a bit of private finance, so buying houses using none of your own money. And a little bit of deal sourcing for good measure. Now, that's where we're at right now. So we'll loop back to how we got there. But take me back a few years then. So you're 23 years old. Mm-hmm. You just touched on the fact that you were in the police force. When did you join and how long were you there for?
So I joined Durham Constabulary police force when I was 18 years old, so literally fresh out of college, sixth form at the time. Joined to become a PCSO, which is basically a support officer. Then at 19 went on to become a constable, did a degree alongside policing because you needed it to get into that force, and very quickly decided it wasn't for me, so pivoted into property.
What did you do a degree in?
Policing.
I didn't even know that was a degree.
Yeah, so we had to do a policing degree to get into the police.
Wow, cool. Well, congratulations on said degree. Before we jump in to the property side, I'm actually quite intrigued to understand a little bit more about the police. Why did you join the police first and foremost? And then how did you find it?
Why did I join the police? I don't think I ever had a clear vision of where I wanted to be as of such. I think I probably at the time just thought it would be quite cool. I was probably more of a tomboy.
The rest of the
grown up. Yeah, like give me some pepper spray and some handcuffs and I'll fight you sort of thing. Like, I think I just thought that was cool at the time.
Very northern of you.
Yeah, so northern. So I think that's probably what intrigued me a little bit to get into it, was the locking people up and
bit of action,
a little bit of action.
Yeah, that makes sense. Similar with the fire brigade. I think every day was different.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get, and you're doing exciting things. What was the reality? How did you find the job when you got in?
I want to say difficult. It wasn't difficult. The people that I was working with, I would say, are probably difficult. I don't think I realised how probably headstrong I was and how much I do not like taking direction from other people, which probably didn't help. I didn't really get on with my shift. The shift hours didn't really work for me. My whole life was pretty much just stripped, because as soon as I got a phone call to say your rest days are over, you were dragged in to help and support with whatever was going on.
So at some point, you've heard about property as a potential option.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Give me a bit of an idea of when did that seed get planted?
Yeah, so I was in the process of my degree for the police, and I've got horses. So I travel around the UK show jumping the horses. And one summer I actually met Helen, who was one of the coaches. She'd taken the summer off to just go and ride the horses as such. And I was going off to my shifts and really, really disliking the fact that I was leaving. And Helen was just like, yeah, like, I'll see you later, I'm just going to stay here and ride. Which is probably where the question started coming from, of how is she doing that? How is she making this money? She looks like she's got a lot more freedom than I currently have.
It's interesting. One of my favourite quotes is, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask on a daily basis. And where some people would look and be like, oh, I feel bad because I'm not doing that. Why can't I do this? You're asking, how does she do that? What is it that she's doing differently? Which are great questions, by the way, which explains how you've got to where you've got to now. Having spoken to Helen, one thing that she said to me was that you asked her a lot of questions, right? She
yes.
said you wanted the information, you weren't letting go until you got what you needed to get going. Is that about right?
Yeah, I would definitely say I had this discussion with somebody the other day, and I am that person that does it and then thinks later. So you tell me how and what I am doing, I will do it, and then I'll just deal with the consequences or whatever's thrown at me later.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in to an extent, blindly following instruction from people. So I think that nowadays everyone thinks they know best in things that they don't know best in, right? If I go and learn, let's give a completely obscure example. If I'm going to learn wakeboarding away from property, and someone's saying to me, right, keep your arms straight out here at shoulder height and bend your knees and do this and lean back. Even if I feel like doing something different, I am just going to listen to exactly what that person does, because I know that's how I get the best result. And then you start to understand. So I think there's a space for finding the people that know what they're doing, provided you trust that they know what they're doing and they're doing it, right? And you can see them doing it, following those steps. And I think you need enough knowledge to start moving, but also a healthy amount of ignorance, because what happens when people get too in deep with the education? Now, education is critical, you make mistakes. Support's critical, you make mistakes. But if the only thing you do is sit on YouTube constantly, read books, and never take any level of action, you just don't get anywhere. At the same time, if you take a lot of action with enough education, you can get very far. Going back to the whole imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. So you took some imperfect action.
Yes.
How did that go down? Now, you referenced people that you worked with, and I don't know if your experience would be similar to mine, but I know that when I was in the fire brigade and I found out about personal development, property investment, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do now. And I got really excited about it. I started telling people I'm going to invest in property, and thinking that they were going to be really excited. That's not really the response that I got. Was it similar in your world?
Yeah, so as this, I think I was 21 at the time, as this fresh 21-year-old that's got all these new ideas, I did go to the team. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get into property. I'm going to buy and sell. I'm going to build my own portfolio. And I very clearly remember one of the girls on my shift said in front of everybody else, just ignore Ellie. She's a bit obscene in what she's thinking. She'll come back down to earth and she'll be policing here for the next 3 years. If I don't see her policing, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was expecting you might say. My question, because it's always interesting when people make comments like that. Again, I've got an assumption, but I'm curious to know. Would you say that demotivated or motivated you to?
No, somebody tells me no and I say yes, to be honest. So I think that probably give me a little kick to say, like, come on, girl, prove them wrong.
Favor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Always the way. I was very similar. So when people said, "Oh, you can't do that," I was like, "Right, I'm going to show you. You'll see." And so that was always a nice driver. One thing, I freed myself up from that a little bit. So years ago, I used to get really upset when I'm trying to get up and running and people were saying, well, you can't do this, you're not going to be able to do that. I realized late, because I used to think it's very personal. I used to think they're making a judgment about me and what they think my ability is. Mm-hmm. And I realized later, actually, it's about them and what they believe is possible in the world. Yeah. Like a lot of it's their own limitations they're projecting onto us. And our job is actually to go and show them it can be done so that other people will be inspired later. I found that a lot of the people that didn't think I could do it come back later and said, how did you do it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. So, all right. So you took your steps. What was your first strategy?
Rent to rent.
And explain just for anyone that's listening, roughly what is rent to rent? And then talk to me about your first deal and how you got it.
Yeah, so rent to rent is essentially taking a property from a landlord, taking a commercial lease on it for, say, a guarantee of 3 to 5 years. I'm going to guarantee to pay that rent for that 3 to 5 years. And then off the back of that, I can rent it out on a nightly basis, whether that be for holiday guests or contractors staying in the area.
Love it. And so landlord's happy, they're getting their rent, you're looking after their property, that you've got it for a long period of time, so it's not got any rolling agreements like a standard tenancy.
No.
And you now can generate more profit from that, so you keep the bit on top basically from operating it how you operate it. And so first deal, you decided to get into property, you're getting some education, you're asking great questions. I'm guessing you went out and just found a deal straight away the following day.
No, absolutely not. So my first deal actually took me 9 months to get over the line because of the one-to-ones that I was having and the training that I was doing and things. I was quite able to quickly identify that a 1-bed apartment in Durham city centre wasn't going to be sufficient. I needed a 3-bed. I needed some parking for the contractors because Durham city centre is a contractor market. We're not in the centre of London where people are coming regularly to visit. So there was all these things that I needed to hit to be able to know that I was going to get that occupancy in that house. So it took a long time of asking, networking, talking to people, getting people on board really, because I think one of the biggest things that I would say I've probably faced is walking into a market of property people who know what they're doing but have no idea about these leases and stuff, and then having to convince them that actually this 21-year-old girl can guarantee the rent, get these people in, and actually it's going to be worth their while.
Nice. And so there's a couple of parts there I want to unpack. One is there's a disqualification process of you saying these properties aren't suitable. Because I often say as well, a little bit of information can be a dangerous thing. Because people hear rent to rent or they see someone doing it, they go, right, let's go out and get that 1-bed apartment because that's the cheap and easy one to start off with. But if there's a lack of demand for that type of property, you're going to, and if you don't know how to operate, you're going to come unstuck and go, oh, this doesn't work. So you are very, very considered in what your criteria is, what's going to work for you, and so you held out for that. And the second one, I guess, as somebody who's in their early 20s approaching people who in your perception were quite experienced in the game and trying to now tell them to do something in a different way was a challenge as well. So I don't know if you know this, but did you have to speak to many people to get your first yes?
Yes, I did. I had to speak to so many people. I was that girl in the area that was networking 3 or 4 times a week just to put myself out to as many people as I could, because I was under the impression of, and I've been told, the more no's that I'm going to get is going to lead to a yes. And that was my mentality, that if something is going to give at some point, just keep going. So yeah, 9 months of lots of no's, but I did finally get that yes.
Good. And so this is like the whole digging for gold thing, right? You never know how many strikes you are away, but somebody's going to stop digging maybe sometimes 1 foot away and say there's no gold there.
Yeah.
Or I'm guessing you probably read the go for no from the way you're describing going through the no's and ultimately getting to the yes. I think that's an important part as well. I'm a big fan of grit as a strong determinant of success, which is that people don't realize you don't just decide I'm going to do this thing and then suddenly the thing happens. You now have to go through the process of resilience of getting knockbacks and still going and taking some feedback. It's like, okay, I didn't pitch that very well. Let me change the way I say it to the next person.
Yeah.
But ultimately, volume negates luck. So I think the more you do of something, the more likely you're going to ultimately do that thing. Comparing your second deal to your first deal, and again, I don't know these time frames, but you're laughing, so I'm assuming that it wasn't another 9 months. How long to get the second one?
So I negotiated 2 weeks of free rent on the first one, and then it took me, we did a little bit of a refurb on the bathroom. Within that 2 weeks, I then got another 2 offers on 2 houses.
Wow. So a bit like London buses.
Yeah.
They come at the same time.
Literally.
You wait for them. Yeah. So that's 3 deals in a short period of time. Love that. Congratulations, by the way. And so I want to make this podcast practical and tactical for people. One thing that you touched on was networking. Now you've clearly done a lot of networking, especially when you started out. You said you were going 3 times a week. Give me some advice. If I'm going to go into a networking event, I want to get ahead in property. What should I do? What should I say? What should I look for? What should I not do maybe? What advice would you give me if I'm starting out in property and starting out networking?
I would say that I genuinely just went into the room and was authentically myself. Like, I'm a bit like Marmite. You either love me or you hate me. That is just the way I am, and I'm happy with being like that. And I think that is the same with the landlords that I deal with. Like, they've got to know me. Like, I'll have a bit of crack with them. We've got a relationship where they can, and they know that they can trust me. I think they've seen that I was out there actively doing things as well. So before I got my first rent-to-rent deal, I still do, but I went down and bought a hard hat and a high vis, and I would just take myself off to site. And off the back of that, I would say, like, listen, I'm in the area, I've got properties in the area, didn't have no properties whatsoever, like, or do you know what I mean? That was just what I was doing. I needed to generate some proof that I was actually able to get these people in. And I would just walk onto site and say, do you need some digs? And off the back of it, I got a year-long contract for 4 houses. So I was going to them as well, saying, listen, I've got this demand here. I just need the house. I need somebody to trust me. And I was authentically myself in saying that. And I think that's what probably started the trust off for them to say, right, there you go.
You're putting in the work. There's 2 things I want to pull out of that I can see. Number 1 was your approach was starting with demand. And a lot of people get that wrong. Yeah. People go and say, I've got to find the property. It's like, well, actually, if you start by finding the people that need the property, you're in a good place. Because we'll talk about in the management, even if you can't put them directly into one of your properties, you can find the property for them and make money from that. Yeah. So starting with demand, and when you say site for everyone's benefit, you're talking about building sites, construction site, contractors will need accommodation in the area, and that's what you were providing accommodation for. So 1, I think starting with demand rather than finding a supply and just hoping it will work, build it and they will come. It's like, no, bring them and then build it for them. Yeah. So you started out with that. The second one is, one of my mentors years and years ago said to me, Steve, you're always on stage. Basically meaning like people are always watching what you're doing and making assessments about you as a person. Not just when you're having that face-to-face conversation, but when they're seeing that you're going out to site, you're taking your stuff seriously, you're really bought into it. These people are making judgments on, okay, she's serious, she's doing this, she's putting the work in. I trust that person to deliver on what they say they're going to do. And I think it's important that people remember that, it's not just the facade that you put on in the moment, it's who you are when you don't think anyone's watching, because people do see what you do. They'll get enough snippets to build that picture. And so that's cool. And so, all right, so networking, being authentic to yourself, whether people like it or not. Yeah. I actually think it's important to have that as well, right? Because your vibe attracts your tribe. You want to bring towards the people that you want to be around. Why would you want to bring towards the people that aren't going to be a good fit for either of you? So being authentically yourself, I'm guessing you seem like a generally curious person. Okay, I'm going to ask a question about this. So we're going to find out how you've done that. Fine. So networking, 3 deals set up. You got 4 sets of. So how did you go from rent to rent into management? Was that the next step, or did you scale the rent to rent first?
No, so I got my 4th rent to rent, and I was quite quirky the way I'd done my deals because I'd had the lads coming in. I didn't have the funds, so a little bit of money went on credit cards that paid for the furniture. But by the time them lads moved out, my furniture was paid off, and I was still on 0% on my credit card, so that was paid off. So I got my 4th one, which was through Facebook Marketplace, and then I think at that point, the landlord that I was dealing with had sort of said, oh, well, I've got a few more properties. This is what I'm looking to do. And then it's just sort of went from there. Like everything that I've done to date there's been no media, no promotion, just word of mouth, basically, is all I've done. And that is just from being out networking, people seeing the deals that I was putting in their houses and just turning around and saying, well, actually, I've seen what you're doing. Can you do this with my house? Or I've got a management company that aren't doing this with my house. Can you manage it? And it just was a natural progression from there.
Love that. I think there's a big obsession sometimes with the wrong things that are low return, and people miss out the things that actually have the return. So I don't know the answer to this. Do you have a business card?
Yes.
Did you always have a business card?
I did.
Did you use that when you went out? Is because your first thing was networking, right?
Yeah.
So you're going out and you're going to meet people. Your first deals came from networking?
Yes.
And then your next deal came from Facebook Marketplace. Did you have a website at the time?
No.
And so it's interesting, I suppose, for you, a business card's a practical tool. Back in the day, a business card became like a distraction for actually going out. People would focus on the business card but not go to the event.
Yeah.
You kind of combine the two, that's fine. But volume, if you think about volume, the person that's going to one networking event a month versus the person that's going to 3 a week, if you ask me which one's going to get the most success, I'd say the one that's going to 3 a week. So there's volume there. And then, so you touched on Lucy's social media. I don't know what your presence was, but it sounds like you weren't doing much on there then.
No.
And I think that again can become a distraction. And this is just my theory, right? I think that a lot of people look for the things that they can do behind closed doors because they're uncomfortable with the things you've got to do outside when it comes to meeting real people and talking to real people. It's like, okay, I'm going to generate an image that I can post on my page and hope that somebody comes to me. I'm going to create a card, but I'm not going to physically give it to people. I'm just going to get the good feeling like I've done something, but I'm not now going out multiple times a week. Or I'm going to create the best possible website on the planet. I've never cared about websites. To me, it's the least important thing.
No.
Fine, you got to have it in some businesses, but it's the least important thing. Same with social media. I think going out, meeting people, being proactive is very high return, but people don't do it because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's easy to create a graphic and stick it online. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's no value to it at all. But whenever I speak to people, it's the same thing. It's like the people that they've met through networking, through training, through coaching, through real communities that are involved in this, as opposed to, I put a post online and all these landlords inundated me and went, yeah, I'll give you my property. It's just not realistic.
No, so I had no website. I had nothing about me was branded. I wasn't allowed to post on social media because policing.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed a second job on the side. So I wasn't allowed none of that.
Probably did you a favor. Yeah, it's interesting because maybe it did you a favor, right? It's like, okay, I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on that. I just think it can be a distraction. I mean, at this point, I've delivered over 2,000 hours of one-to-one. And sometimes I'm talking to people that they haven't got their first property in, but they're talking to me about their website and their SEO. And I'm like,
pointless.
Stop. Do it later, fine. But there's a sequence to this. It's like find the freaking deal, negotiate, find the investor, find this is not where you find them. It's a much more difficult way to approach it. So that's an interesting thing that I'm pulling from what you've done. At what point did you decide it was time to leave?
So I moved down into custody for a little bit, and the hours were all right. I think I was working, it was 9 till 5 every day, which is your standard typical working hour. They then tried to move me back onto response after I'd done my stint of, it was like we used to go into development sections of what you wanted to progress onto or what you maybe lacked in. So I did my stint in custody and they tried to put me back onto response. And at that point, I was like, I was out networking. I was then growing the management side. I then had my own rent-to-rents. I was out actively looking for my own like properties as well for investment and stuff. And I think there was just a trigger in me that was like, I cannot physically now juggle all of this. The funds weren't there for any staff. It was literally just me.
Would this put you back onto shifts then?
Yeah, so I was going from a 9 to 5 and they were trying to put me on, we used to work patterns. So we used to work 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. or 11 a.m. till 7 p.m. Or then you used to have a night which was 10 p.m. till 7 a.m. But you would do 3 days on and then 2 days off. But your first day was always taken because you were sleeping from your night shift, typically. So they were trying to put me back onto a shift and there was no time. And I think that's when the trigger went to say, listen, I can't do it no more. I'm at capacity as it is. And I was at this point, had the management deals coming in and I could see very clearly what was coming into the bank that actually I could pay myself the wage that I was getting from the police anyways. So what was the point in doing something that I didn't have a love for?
Was it a difficult decision for you at the time? Honestly?
I think the biggest difficulty of it is actually trusting yourself. That you are actually going to be capable of going out and then generating your own income. Because I've always been brought up as you go away, you get a job, you've done university, you've got your degree, your job's then going to pay for you until retirement, and then your retirement funds come and you're living off your retirement funds. So I think it was a change in mindset of someone being like, Ellie, you've got to fend for yourself now, which was the scariest thing. Leaving the police, not a problem. I could have walked out the door 6 months ago. It was just the actual jump to trust myself and to be able to do it.
Yeah, I get that. And it's interesting because some people find that step really difficult, even at the point when they're making multiples of their income outside. And I wonder as well, because you're quite early in life, sometimes if somebody's maybe 40 years old, they're more conditioned, they've been in a job for 20 years, that step now becomes my whole mortgage, everything's dependent on this. But you had something that you didn't like, probably did you a favor, because it's sometimes worse when you're really comfortable somewhere, right? So you had something that was become uncomfortable enough to make the step. You were making income, and then it's trusting yourself, which is pretty much bang on, isn't it? And I think for people making that decision, they've got to trust themselves and know that, well, you're not going to die. Unlikely. So worst case, you go back and get another job. I remember leaving. For me, it was different. Or similar actually, because my dad would have worked his whole life for BT. My mum worked for the NHS, and hardworking people, but you just got a career and you stayed in it, and like you said, get your pension, retire. And I sat in the fire service, and when I told my parents I wanted to leave, I remember my dad being like, "Oh, no, well, why would you leave that? It's a great job, great pension, great whatever else." The only way I managed to swing him around, I was like, "But remember, Dad, it's really dangerous. What if I went to the job and something bad happened?" So I tricked him, but effectively. But you don't look back. So you've done phenomenally well. You've made that decision. There was something that you said earlier, which was interesting. So just for clarity, before I pull on that point, did you come from an incredibly wealthy family? Were you super rich? Did you?
No, I was. Don't get me wrong. I never went without anything. But we were from a council estate. My mum and dad did have their own house on that estate, but that was pretty much it. I got treated to the horses. That was my hobby. Other than that, there wasn't really anything else. We had one family holiday a year, and my family were really good to me. But there was nothing like that stood out that said we're wealthy, there's money coming in. There was none of that. Like, it was bread and butter sort of shit.
Traditional. Family, right? Everyone's going to work, got your home, and a holiday every year. So like a traditional setup. And so what was your mindset around borrowing. And the reason I'm asking this is a lot of people have this perception. This is an old school mentality. We're talking about old school approaches to life. A lot of people have this mentality that all debt is bad debt. And I know that the generation before me, that was what was passed down to me. It's like, don't get into any form of debt, pay off your mortgage as quick as you can, don't borrow anything, never get a credit card, never do this, never do that, never finance a car, never do anything that involves any level of borrowing ever. And you touched on putting furniture on a credit card at 0%. And so I guess I want to make a distinction between what is good debt, what is bad debt, and what was your mindset around that? Because you've effectively taken on debt, you got a credit card. Some people will listen, I would never do that. And that fear might stop them from taking a step. How did you justify it to yourself? What were your thoughts around that? Was it a thing? Was it not a thing?
I think I'd identified that was probably the only way that I was going to be able to move forward and furnish that house or them houses. There was 2 houses that I'd furnished on it. So it was Halifax. I was with Halifax. I actually took out £15,000 and they furnished the 2 houses, but I'd already done my due diligence that was saying, like, Ellie, you're getting your rent on one of my houses. It's £650. On the other one, it's £725. Like, it's nothing really when you compare them to the London market. Let's be honest. These were 2 3-bed, 2-bathroom houses, and I was getting £3,000 a month off these guys coming to stay, and they were staying with me for a year.
So you're getting £3,000 a month, and how much is the rent?
£725 and £650.
And this is £3,000 per property?
Yes.
So by the time you take away, because obviously you're going to pay the bills, you've got a few expenses in there, what sort of profit was left on a monthly for each, roughly?
We were probably looking on one of them about 2,000, on the other one probably about 1,900.
Wow. Okay, so that's serious money. What did you get paid in the police?
I used to get £2,100 per month from the
2,100. So one of those nearly replaced the entire.
Yeah.
Fine. And you got 4 of them, or roughly at the 9 to month part, just after the 9-month part. Well done, by the way. Okay, so that's interesting. Do you think that anyone can fully progress based on what you've seen and what you know in the property space without at some point being at peace with some level of borrowing that they've obviously logically done their due diligence on? Do you think it's possible? And I'm asking you as somebody who will get into has borrowed money to buy houses to do them up, has borrowed money to furnish rent to rents. Do you think it's possible to get as far as you could do without leverage, I guess is what I'm asking.
I do. I think you'd have to be really creative. We now get some purchase lease options that come through fully furnished. Obviously, you do for a purchase lease option now have to put a little bit of money down. So I think there's always going to be some money attached.
So if you've got some, I suppose it depends what your resources are, right? So if you've got some, then you can apply it. So and Helen, obviously you worked with Helen a lot. And so Helen, I know her approach was leasing. So initially, so she would lease that and pay that out of the monthly cash flow. And it's funny, I've often recommended to people with furnishing, I'm like, okay, if you don't have the capital, 0% credit card, just make sure you pay it off. Make sure you've done your numbers. It all comes back to make sure you've done enough due diligence that you know this is going to work. And I remember my first ever deal, penning it out so many times, trying to break this deal to make it not work. And every time I did it, it's still like, it's going to make $2,000 a month. And I was like, okay, just do it again. Let's break it. What if it's not fully occupied? This is an HMO. I was like, what if one of the rooms doesn't rent? What if I don't get as much as I thought? Doesn't break. I was like, it still makes profit. Okay, I've got no excuse but to trust to move forward. So you got your rent-to-rent stuff up and running. We've left the police force. What was next? Management?
Yeah, the management was sort of alongside, and then that progressed as I left because my time was then just totally free. So I would say I did the most I've ever done the month after I left the police. I think that was probably one of my best months because I was like free, literally.
Love it. And I'm guessing there's a combination. I don't want to assume, so you can tell me if I'm wrong. I guess there's a combination of you're free. You also got a little bit of pressure now because you're on your own. You got to make this work, right? It's time to make it happen. So explain roughly what we mean by management, just for anyone who's not too sure what that is.
So that's when a landlord will come to me and say, Ellie, I've got a house. I don't really want anything to do with it. Can you just pay me at the end of the month? Is probably how I would best explain it. So they would bring me their 4-bedroom house in a Durham city centre. We agree that I take 15% commission on anything that I put in their house. I do all the cleaning, all the guest communications, all the maintenance, you name it, I do it. And then they just get paid out.
It's a brilliant win-win. So let's imagine I've got a house and it's going to rent for 800 normally as a buy-to-let.
Mm-hmm.
But I were to bring it to you and say, Ellie, can you manage my property? And you'll say, yeah, this property I can get 3,000 a month for it.
Mm-hmm.
I take 15% of that, or you'll take 15% of that, which would be 450 quid. Minus some expenses. I'm basically going to end up with a good bit more than if I just rented it out, and I don't do any extra work because you're picking up that side of things. Yeah, brilliant. I'm a big believer in win-win approaches, and that means that, well, you don't need to have all of the properties to house people. You just need to go and get the people, which is more valuable. Arguably, having the demand. Going back to having the demand. If there's one theme that we're trying to drill in here, it's start with the demand. Talk me through. Let's get people out of their comfort zone now. Talk me through finding the demand. So you said you got your hard hat, you got your high vis. And what? Somebody told you, I've arranged a meeting for you, or are you just literally knocking on the door of a building site?
No, so I would go in the morning, either to Sainsbury's or Greggs, and I used to buy a massive crate of donuts, or Greggs. I used to buy like 4 packs of sausage rolls, and I literally used to just take my business card that I had, that literally only had my name and my number and what my company was called, walk out onto site, and the men would normally gravitate to me after seeing the food. So they would be like, why is this 5'4" girl stood in the middle of our site with a load of donuts? Because there would never be anybody on the gates. And I used to go just after dinner and walk on, so they would all be down at the cabins. So I used to pretty much just walk on and say, where's the boss? Can I speak to him? And then I would normally get ushered in a direction of where the office was, and I used to just go and have a bit of crack with them, probably, as I would say, and get them on board.
I'm going to translate a few northern terms for our southern listeners. So having a bit of crack does not involve smoking. That should be crystal clear, right? Ex-police officer. We're talking about having a laugh.
Yes, having a laugh.
And having dinner in the north is having lunch in the south. So
it is.
This was after lunchtime, you're coming down. And I say that because people won't realize, this goes back to, it's not about having a website, having a social media. You physically walked onto a building site as a 5'4", I think you said, female, with a box of donuts. You came bearing gifts, very smart, and asked who's in charge here, and that's how you got in. Were you nervous doing that?
I was absolutely shitting a brick, you could say. Scared. For the Southerners, scared.
Yeah, we would classify that as being nervous. Yes.
And I walked off the site first time, and I didn't get any response from them. So I went onto that same site 3 times before I got anything from them. But off the back of that, I got a £56,000 booking.
Digging for gold. This is the point that I just want to emphasize so much. And I don't know these specifics, but equally at the same time, I kind of do know these specific, I know this is what's going to be the case, because I know you're not walking onto one site and walking off your bookings and you go, I think that it's easy for people watching or listening to say, oh, it's all right for her, she's probably not scared. Yeah, and that's why I want to be real with people, that all of us are afraid. The difference is taking a step in spite of that fear and knowing that what you want is on the other side of that fear, and not being disheartened by a knockback, but seeing failure, each failure. I think it might have been Winston Churchill said that success is going from failure to failure without a lack of enthusiasm. You didn't even go to a different site. You went back to the same site 3 times, £56,000 booking.
Yeah.
That's a serious booking. Roughly, I don't know, not to put you on the spot, what percentage of that would have been profit after the time you took out everything else?
Well, they all moved to my rent-to-rents. So they were all in mine. But 15% of 56,000, do the math.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I can verify it's a lot. So that's what that's worth. And that's why I genuinely believe the biggest blocker to most people's success is just fear. They're just getting in their own way. And sometimes we need people like you to show us what's on the other side. That's what I like about this podcast. I bring people on. Let's keep it real. Let's say, look, I was S in a B, in your words, or nervous for us Southerners. And that's real. And I went once. It didn't go the way I planned. So I just kept going back until I got the business. Again, going for no and getting that no and just keep hitting them with volume. So congratulations. It's not much, but it's a lot at the same time, isn't it? I think that's what I'm trying to convey. There's not many steps, but it's the steps that people put off that generally are the ones that are stopping them from getting where they want to go. How many management properties do you have now, roughly?
We've got about 40 with another 6 in the pipeline.
About 40 with another 6 in the pipeline. And so if I do some quick maths and imagine each one makes 400 or 500 quid a piece, is that probably about right?
Yeah.
About 400 or 500 quid a piece. It's probably 16 to 20k is worth of monthly income there in the business. How many people in that business?
There is me. I subcontract my maintenance out, subcontract my cleaning out, and I've got 3 girls that help me with running the day-to-day operations of the business.
Nice.
And they're based in the Philippines.
I was about to say offshore or onshore. Okay, cool. So you got people in the Philippines that help with the administrative and and some. So now your job is pulling together people, right?
Yeah.
That's the next level of business. Has that been a challenge for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And so this is a journey that, I see again and again and again. It's like starts out, you got to do the work. You got to take the steps no one's going to take. Next thing is like, right now I've got to find the people. And that's hard. And then you have to become a different person as well to communicate things, pass things on, to be able to train people up, to realize that people need a bit more time and explanation than you probably want them to because they don't know well as you do. Ringing any bells gets a bit frustrating. They make some mistakes. But ultimately, that is, and the conversation I had this morning with a very close friend of mine was, I think the next phase of business and leveling up is really not about what you're getting or what you're doing. It's about who you have to become in order to do that, right? Because I'm guessing the Ellie at the beginning couldn't do what the Ellie today is doing 200 steps along because she hasn't been through that process. Alongside this, you got the rent to rent, you got the management, you've also bought a couple of properties as well. Quite a busy year. I don't even know if we're going to have time to talk about the sourcing, but we'll see how you get on. Talk to me about the buy-in. So what was the first one? What are you doing with it? How did you buy it?
Yeah, so the first one I brought to one of my one-to-one coaching calls with Helen. It was up for 140,000. Really liked where it was. It was a bit quirky, so property inside was pretty much perfect. It had been a repossession. However, the land was leasehold. So I was only buying I wasn't buying the freehold, I was buying the leasehold of the house on the land, meaning I did not own the land underneath. The leasehold only had, I think it was 67 years on it, which meant that it wasn't mortgageable, so it needed to be bought in cash. I took it to Helen. Helen quite quickly looked at the numbers with me and said, absolutely not, don't go near it. So I was like, right, put that to the side. However, it then came back on the market last, I want to say October, might have been. So it came on, it was significantly reduced to 110. So I was like, right, did the numbers again. Numbers actually started to work. They then put a RICS survey on it saying that the end GDV was going to be 160. No refurb was needed. It was just literally the purchase of the freehold to turn the leasehold into the freehold, which was £11,000. So I've got a 110 leasehold house, an £11,000 freehold ground of the property. I needed the cash for it, and that was going to GDV at 160, which sounds great in your head, but there was no funds there. I didn't know even where to start because I'd never purchased a property before in my life. So then I just went out to the community. So when you're part of the academy, obviously we have the weekly Tuesday meetings. I put a package together, presented on that to say, does anybody want to be involved? This is how much I need. And then off the back of that, I had somebody come to me and say, yeah, we'll invest.
Nice. So I'm going to recap on the deal quickly because some people here will understand every single word you said. Some people are like, leasehold, freehold,
What's
GDV.
that?
What are you saying? So you actually described that really well. So you're saying, well, leasehold, I don't own the land that the property's on. And this property basically had a relatively short lease, not super short, but you had agreed, or they had agreed, the price to buy the freehold was 11,000, which meant you would end up owning the land.
Yes.
No need for a lease whatsoever. That goes out the window and the property value's up straight away. Inside was nice. You can get it for 110,000. So it's 110,000 to buy, 11,000 to extend the lease. You got a RICS survey.
They'd done a RICS survey.
They'd done one at 160.
At 160.
And I'll break down that for anyone that doesn't know the difference in a RICS survey and an estate agent valuation. An estate agent valuation is a little bit, we can sell this for this. Sometimes it can be a little bit inflated. They can be very different. Whereas a RICS survey is based on data, what's sold in the area.
Comparables.
And exactly, sold comparables in the area. Exactly that. Perfect. And GDV is just the final value once everything's done. So the gross development value. So once you've got that freehold, the final value was going to be 160. You got good evidence of that from this RICS survey. So what did you need to borrow? About 120-ish?
120, yeah. I borrowed 120, so I literally put not a penny into any of it.
Nice. So you borrowed 120, you've bought the property, and have you extended the freehold now?
Yeah, so we're in the process of literally just wrapping it all up. So that was purchased. We completed auction. Literally the day after, went to the guys that owned the freehold, purchased that as well. So we've had somebody come out and value it, and it has valued at 160.
Nice. And is that the one for the lender? Is that the valuer for the lender?
Yes.
Yeah, nice. So you've got your 160 valuation, which means you're going to put a mortgage on at 75% loan to value, presumably, and take 120,000 back out.
Yes.
So the net result of that then is you end up with a property worth £160,000 that you're smiling already, because you know the net result. £40,000 worth of equity in there.
Yeah.
That you've created for extending the freehold. Private investor gets paid back £120,000 plus their interest. And now what does that property, or you're using that property already to generate, right?
Yeah, so the day we completed on a Friday. I went down and got the keys. By the Monday, we'd had it furnished, and that since that day has had a booking in there with some contractors in, and makes me £2,800 a month.
2,800, that's gross?
Yes.
So you got 2,800 coming in for this property that you paid absolutely no freaking money for. And then how do you talk to me about the loan then? Because a lot of people here are interested in private investment. So you borrowed 120. Now there's different ways to do this, isn't there? Some people, they take the interest off the front, or some people, they roll it up at the end. Some people, they pay it on the monthly. How much is the interest? How much do you pay? And
Yeah, so for that one, I pay 10% interest to the investor, and they get that on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So just 1,200 goes out the account every month to them until I've obviously remortgaged it.
And then once you got the mortgage, roughly what would the mortgage be? I'm guessing it's going to be a lot less.
It works out at £564, I think.
Wow. So I think I stole this phrase from you, but a free house?
Free house, yeah.
A free house. It's so nice that you did it twice. So
yes, I did.
That's not the only property, but the other one's more of a refurb than a leasehold or freehold exercise, right? So talk me through the other one that you're in process of this year as well.
Yeah, so the second one was in Durham as well. It needed a full back to brick gut. There wasn't even a door in place when we viewed it. It had been used as a drug house, I think, from looking at the stuff that we found in there. But that one,
so they had a bit of good crack in there.
They had good crack in there, yeah. But that one wasn't standard either. So that one is a non-standard construction.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that your typical house upstairs, you would have wooden joists and wooden floorboards, whereas the house that I was purchasing had concrete on. So that scared pretty much every investor off.
Perfect.
Straight away, which was lucky for me because then I had a little bit of negotiating to do on top of that. So it was on a live day that we had down in London. I actually ended up getting it.
Oh yeah.
The auction was at 12 o'clock. I was just sat in the corner while you were all talking at the front. And I won that for 70. So it was a £65,000 purchase, but there was some fees in there of rent arrears and stuff that hadn't been paid. So it ended up being £75,000 purchase by the time we'd paid for fees and stuff and the rent arrears and things. So 75,000 purchase, non-standard construction. So it scared everybody else away. Luckily, I'd already been to a broker. They'd said, yeah, we'll get lending on this, no problem. So sort of that one of my concerns was straight away brushed off. And then I've just stuck a £25,000 refurb on that house. And that's valued up at 150.
Amazing. Right. I'm getting excited now. So I remember this clearly. So this was at one of our academy in-person training days, right? The actual auction happened on the day. You couldn't make this up. And I think I asked you, well, what's happened? You're like, well, I think I got the winning bid. I think I won it. Did I win it? And I was like, yeah, you won it.
Yeah, you did, Ellie.
It is yours. So we can maybe talk about auctions a bit, actually, because both of these are auction properties, which will be interesting for people. You bought this. You mentioned rent arrears, so it's worth noting here because when you buy at auction, you get a legal pack. It will sometimes have additional fees in there. You were obviously aware of them. I've seen people get caught out with this exact clause. So, and I wasn't aware of this before, but the seller then had included rent arrears for the previous tenants that you had to pay to buy the property.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the seller had put some legal costs in to try and get the tenant out for missed rent arrears. So then that obviously got passed on to me.
And that's worth obviously factoring in. The thing that I love about your deal is that it's non-standard construction. And this is the difference between, the people that know what they're doing and the people that hear one headline and just run away.
Yeah.
And so non-standard construction, and I personally own non-standard construction houses. I think they're great because, like you say, people were scared away and they don't want to buy them. So you got great negotiating power, especially if you're holding the asset and cash flow in it. Mm-hmm. So non-standard construction, there's obviously different types of there's hundreds of different types of non-standard construction. Yours was a concrete build. I think there's hundreds of different types of concrete build.
Yeah.
And so it can either be defective or it can be mortgageable. And so a key part of that process before everyone goes out just buying loads of non-standards is check that you can mortgage it, have a good relationship with a broker, check what type of construction, which presumably you did, check that it can be mortgaged so you know your exit's clean, and then you're often operating. And I think there's so many deals in the spaces where people are looking away, like properties sat on the market for a long time, must be something wrong with it. Crack in the chimney, structural damage, the rent arrears, I'm not paying that. The structural, it's non-standard construction, and people just run away from this stuff. But you've obviously got the information, you've gone and done the right research before, you've taken the steps. So 65k purchase, let's call it 75 with all of the fees and all of the add-on that you had to clear. 20k refurb? Did you say?
25.
25k refurb, so that brings it to about 100k.
Yeah.
And that's valued up at 150,000.
150,000, yeah.
And how much money did you have to put into this one?
So I paid for the refurb on that one, and then the investor put in the money for the purchase.
And so when you refinance that, investors pay back. Do you get your refurb back?
I get my refurb money back.
So you have no money in that deal at all?
And I pull out an extra £12,000.
And you pull out an extra 12,000. What are you going to do with it?
Go for another one.
yeah. That's the downside of investing. I was with a friend earlier who's an investor, and he's like, the problem is, if you've got a cash business, you just sort of go, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that. When you've got a property business and you get lumps of cash, you're like, okay, I need to buy another property with this now. I can't buy fun things. It's not how my brain's wired. So this year, you've effectively bought 2 properties with none of your own money, and paid the investor back or about to pay the investor back in full. One of them is actually going to give you more money back than you've put in altogether. And that one is the refurb finish. Is that one operating yet?
Yeah, so that went live on Airbnb last week.
Nice.
So yeah, that one should be bringing in. We're in the process of chatting with some guys on site, so hopefully that should bring in just over 2.5 a month.
Nice. And so $2,500 a month, that's going to be, well, probably similar mortgage, isn't it? Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. What challenges could somebody face if they wanted to do the same thing? What have we not spoke about with these deals? What's come up that you didn't expect? What's caught you off guard? Let's face it, there are things in property that can sometimes be like, oh, didn't see that coming. Have you had any of those moments?
I think I would say probably my strongest sticking point has been, like I said to you earlier, my legal team is slow, really slow. And I think I had a bit of an unlucky touch with my mortgage company as well, whereas the process probably should have been done about 8-10 weeks ago, and I'm still not there. Other than that, I've been very involved with everything. So I would say I'm pretty on the ball at pulling everything up that needs doing.
Yeah, fair play. And so it's obviously making profit anyway, even with the private finance on it. But basically what you're saying is the solicitors on this particular deal, not responsive, not
responsive. Like, to me, I would have liked it to have been a little bit faster, so the investor could have had the money back and then they could have gone on with their next deal or whatever they want to do. But it's just a bit of a sticking point because I'm waiting.
Yeah, and I think property, we all want to be in and out of a deal in 3 months.
Yeah, we do.
This is what we're sharing is the reality. Sometimes it's going to be 6, sometimes it's going to be 7 or 8. And I guess if we pull these things and give people the lessons from it, I know in my experience there's a big difference between the solicitors that are on the ball, coming back to you, getting things progressed, and then the solicitors that you're one of 50 cases on their desk. They're not prioritizing it. No. They're not really that bothered. And they're almost like, we'll just deal with whoever shouts the loudest. And sometimes they won't even care if you're shouting the loudest because everyone's shouting loud. And was that a solicitor that you'd known, or is that one that you recommended, or how did you end up?
No, so that was just on the panel. So that particular mortgage, it was a hard one because I was a first time buyer as of such, but into a company, and I don't have nothing in my personal name either. So there was limited people that would lend to me, which is what it is. I had to go with one of them, and it just turned out that they literally pick everything because I've gone with them. So I don't know the legal team. The broker, I got recommended the broker, and he just gave me what I could take. Perfect.
I think that's important as well, is having the right people, right? Some people are like, I'm going to go directly to a lender. Like, there's 250 lenders. Just get a broker who does this day in, day out, who knows who's going to lend. Because knowing your situation, I will know that, and also owning a finance brokerage, I know there are challenges that you would have had to overcome. One, you've touched on, first ever property. You don't have your own property in your name, so that can change who will lend to you. First one, it's not a straightforward one, it's a short-term let. And alongside that, I'm assuming, but I don't know, if you transition from a full-time employment to having your own business, there's this whole, how many tax returns have you got? And I can see from your response that that's
not enough.
And so I love it because those are all excuses that people will use not to do it. Again, you've demonstrated that you just got to stick it out, find the right people, and keep on until you get through it. Do you class yourself to be a resilient person?
Oh, I'm so goddamn resilient. You name it. Yeah, I'm definitely a resilient person.
Good. I would have thought so, and I was curious to know if you can see it, because I can see it in my life. And again, going back to that grit, I genuinely believe, ever since I read the book Grit and sort of started to look at the people I knew around me, that one of the biggest factors that all of the successful people have in common is they just keep freaking going. They can have the knockbacks, but they just keep going, and until they get the result that they're after, which I can see very clearly in you. And you're 23 years old now.
23, yeah.
Which I can't actually fathom. I don't even think you're necessarily probably realize how far you'll go at this rate. Probably a lot further than you can ever possibly comprehend in this moment. But what is your goal? Like, where do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now? What would success look like to you?
I think because there's a lot of obstacles that's been thrown in the mix so far. I just want to be able to go out and have businesses with teams that will work for me, and genuinely want to be in the business to make a profit and things, and then scale the portfolio up, some bigger holiday houses and stuff maybe.
Yeah, nice. So to start building teams, start building people, start getting your people together to support that mission and to grow and scale.
Yeah.
Which that makes sense. And what's stopping anyone listening from doing any of the things that you've done?
There is absolutely no excuse. Like, that is just me being really blunt. Like, I put into perspective of what I've had to deal with. Like, I lost my mum when I was 14. The past 2 years, I've had a change in, like, pretty much sleeping from my car. Like, there's no excuse.
It's interesting because the next question I had in mind to ask you was personal. And the reason I want to ask that, because people look and they go, oh, it's all right for you. You're young and all you got to do is this. I've got kids, I've got that. And people almost forget that you've got a life.
Yeah.
And all of us have a life, right? So outside of this podcast studio, there's personal lives with all sorts of things going on that we probably never would need to talk about on this microphone. But at a higher level, alongside this journey that you've been on for the last couple of years, has your personal life been, and I don't know the answer to this, so this isn't a loaded question, but at the same time, I probably do, because I spoke to enough people. Has your personal life been a breeze? Has it been quite straightforward? Have you had challenges that can interfere?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I look now and I think one of my biggest reasons was for doing property is the freedom that I get. I lost my mum when I was 14. Like, if that doesn't put into perspective that your time's short and do something with it, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I think the challenge a lot of people now, they put off things that they could be doing now under the excuse that they are going to do it later. And grieving and losing people that you don't expect to lose does bring about the fragility of life, does show you that, hold on a minute, tomorrow's not a guarantee.
No.
And funny, we just said this morning before you got here. I asked one of the guys that's working here today, I was like, how are you? He's like, well, and I was like, well, you woke up this morning, didn't you?
Yeah.
So it's a good start. 250,000 people didn't wake up this morning. So I think we're good. You think we're good? He's like, yeah, I suppose we're good. I was like, yeah, I think we're good. There's no way on earth you're going to slip a comment in, and I'm not going to pick up on it, that you said something about sleeping in a car. Why were you sleeping in a car?
So just family situations, basically. I ended up sleeping in a car for a few weeks until I found somewhere more stable. But that's my surroundings. Like, I've had a big, big shift in the people that I have around me.
So how important is it to have the right people around you?
Massively. Like, I would say, so I left my job in about April last year, between February and April, my notice went in and things. And from then, my whole surroundings have changed. Like, I don't speak to my immediate family that I used to. And I would probably, like, you can hear me tearing. It doesn't get me upset because I can genuinely see, like, how much of a difference it's made. Like, I would never have done what I'm doing now if they were still in my life. And it's bittersweet. Like, it is bittersweet, but you genuinely don't realise how much your immediate family hold you back when they don't believe in you. So sometimes you just have to cut them strings.
It's hard decisions for an easier life.
Yeah, 110%.
I think one of the things that people don't anticipate, and again, these are all, it's like you see different people going through the same journey in their own respective lives. It doesn't make it any easier or different. Sometimes it does make it a bit easier because you know that, you know, other people are having similar challenges, obviously different, but some of them similar. I think one of the things people don't anticipate is that the people, if you're at the beginning of this journey, the people around you now might not be the people around you next year. And it's the people you lose that are still around that can be very difficult, sometimes necessary,
Yeah.
you know, but it doesn't make it easy.
No, they were probably they were some of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make, I would say, but I'm a very different person now. Like, I don't deal with half of the stuff that gets chucked at me. It's like, it's completely different, and I wouldn't be as far forward now if I was in that same position.
What would you say to someone who is surrounded by people that they think are holding them back, whether it's family, whether it's a partner, whether it's friends, whether it's colleagues?
Just remove yourself from that situation. Like, I get it's not always easy, and it never will be easy, but I can see a massive, massive shift from removing myself from situations that I knew were no good for me. And if I'd have done that a year or two ago, I might have been a lot further forward.
I think you're further enough.
Yeah, always further.
All of us can if and but and maybe, but I think you're on a good pace. What sort of people should someone aim to have around them, and what sort of person should you be then if you want to have those people around you?
I think if you're it's a hard one. Like, I am very much myself, like I've said, and I only want people around me that shine like I do. Like, I'm such a bubbly, positive person, I would say, and like, I'm just not here for negativity. Like, if you've got that negative person in your life, do you know what I mean? Why do you want to be around somebody that is holding you back or discouraging you to do something that you genuinely want to do? Like, just leave that situation.
I gave the example the other day to someone, and I said, "Do you remember your first ever car?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Remember when you got your first ever car, and if your mates got in your car with like food and drink, you'd be, oh, don't drink and eat in my car, because that car is precious. It means something to you. Bear with me; it will make sense in a minute." Thinking, where's he going with this? And I said, imagine now, because we're talking about the same topic again. Prevalent theme in our world when you're trying to progress is the environment and the people that you're around. I said, now imagine you got a friend, and they get into your car, and they've got a McDonald's, and they take their McFlurry, and they smear it all across your seats, and they throw chips everywhere, and they whip the burger open, start flinging gherkins at your window. Stick with me. I'll land the plane in a second. I said, would you leave that person in your car? You know, like, well, obviously not. You're going to kick them out of your car. Be like, what the hell are you doing, right? So why are you leaving those people in your life that are just creating such a mess in your head? You know, they're coming in, they're tipping negativity everywhere. They're throwing their rubbish in your brain because it makes a mess. We wouldn't allow people to do it in our home, come and start throwing rubbish around. You wouldn't allow people to do it in your car. We wouldn't allow people to do it, but we let people do it in our mind every single day. Just throw seeds of doubt, negativity, criticisms, rubbish. You know, it's one thing to give someone feedback because you want them to do well with love. It's another thing just to undermine, to critique, because I don't care who you are. If you got that fed into your brain every single day, you're going to struggle to progress.
Yeah.
And I think as you elevate yourself and your self-esteem, your standards raise. And I think your level of tolerance and what you'll put up with is in direct proportion to your level of self-worth. On this journey, you can't progress without the personal development side, right? You need to value yourself. And the more you value yourself, the more you go, hold on, you can't talk to me like that. Hold on, I don't want to hear that. And people go, well, what's got into you? You're like, well, I've got standards that you're not meeting. So either we find a way to align or we don't. Doesn't mean I can't love you and respect you, but I can't spend the time with you because it's pulling me back.
Yeah.
And it's probably not good for them either. You know, like if they're uncomfortable to the point that they're criticizing. Family's a tough one. You know, you've gone through the toughest one, and I get asked the question, and like, if it's friends, I'm like, well, just cut them off. Yeah. Find new friends, right? You know, if it's your partner, tough, but maybe you got to, if you can't solve it, maybe you've got to take some steps. If it's family, it's like that's hard. So,
Yeah.
Well done, and I can see that it's was a difficult decision. What advice would you give someone then who is at the earlier stage of your journey? Let's say they're in a job that they don't like. They know and I assume you had this burning feeling that you can do something better, but you didn't know what at that point in time. If they're here, they've probably found the idea of property.
Yeah.
What steps can they take? What can they do to progress? What's the first step? What advice would you give them?
I would say my number one advice is you've always genuinely got to back yourself. Like if you've got no belief in yourself, then you've got no belief at all. And the second one would be like, if I'd have done this alone, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. So you're toying on the fact of having somebody help you and get education, but are you going to still be toying on that 5 years down the line when you've done nothing and everybody that took action have their own portfolios, they've got their own freedom and they're doing what they love? Like,
there's a couple of things there. So one is the mindset I'll loop back to. One is the education. And so, yeah, I say to people, look, a year from now, you're either going to be a year in or exactly where you are, wishing you were a year in.
Yeah.
Which one's it going to be? If you know you don't want to be where you currently are in the job that you're currently in, then you are guaranteeing failure by doing nothing.
Yeah.
Or you take that uncertain road that feels uncomfortable. Maybe you got to invest in yourself a little bit. Maybe you got to back yourself, which is what investing in yourself is, a little bit as well. How important is mindset? What do you do to keep your mindset strong?
What do I do to keep my mindset strong? I love a break. As bad as that sounds, I love a holiday. A holiday is my mind refreshing. I've identified that you can put all these posts on Facebook and social media that you're working anywhere in the world, which is absolutely great. And when that time comes and you need to do that. But when you've got the opportunity to actually turn off and look after yourself
and not work,
like, do that. Do not think that you have to go everywhere and work anywhere in the world.
Thanks. I think I could take some of your advice.
Yeah, you probably could work everywhere.
I heard something the other day that stuck into my head. There's no such thing as being overworked, only underrested. And I think as people enter the world of entrepreneurship and they see like the grind culture, it's like, yeah, I'm working super hard 7 days a week. They start to not value the rest and the gaps in between that allow that performance to happen.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the trips that you go on, how have they changed? Are you taking different trips than you would have taken a few years ago?
I'm taking a lot more trips. Similar places, but I love now when I say I'm going away next week, I'm going away next week. Like I've got the systems and stuff in place and the team that'll help me to be able to say, right, I'm at capacity now, I'm going away. Like I think this year we've done 4 or 5 holidays, and we're only pretty much halfway through.
Where have you been?
So we've done Portugal, we've done Bali for 2 weeks, we went to Budapest, Iceland, and Bella Medina in Spain.
Nice. That's and this is what is financial freedom. I think it's the ability to choose what you're doing at any given moment,
yeah,
which is what you're describing. So if I say I'm going away next week, I'm going away next week. A lot of people don't have that flexibility financially or even within their career or within their life. So congratulations. That's the net result of what you put the work in for. And then, so the mindset, so we spoke a bit about the mindset. You're saying taking breaks, coming back sharp, and getting that recharge. And then the education. So how important is the education on the journey?
Super important. Like if I'd have started at the beginning by myself, yeah, you can watch these YouTube videos and things, but I think it's been such a help for me for somebody to be able to say, like Helen in my one-to-one coaching, no, Ellie, that's not the right house. Just put it to the side for a bit, or these are the sites that are in the area. Go down to these sites, they might have somebody working there. And I think it's just somebody to say, actually, keep going. Like, you can have, you've got all your friends and family around you that can say keep going, but nobody knows the position that you are actually in other than the people that are ahead of you or have done what you have done. Like, the coaches, they know that, like, yeah, Ellie, you're at a sticking point, keep going. And if I didn't have that, I don't think I would be as far forward as where I am now. Like, you name it, I've got a question, I'll ask it, and I'll get, one way or another, I will get a response, and I know I will.
I think I often describe it as the ability to go further faster. So exactly what you're saying, right? Okay, maybe you'd have a rent to rent. And then secondly, to get the best deals and to avoid the mistakes. Because as much as you can make a lot of money in property, you get things wrong. You get the wrong deal, you buy for the wrong price, you get the wrong fine, you get the wrong X, you get anything, get the wrong refurb wrong. You can lose a lot as well. So Warren Buffett has said the best invention, the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you'll earn. Is it easy what you're doing?
No.
Do you think people, because you mentioned something, again, I'm picking out of the middle of your sentences. Do you think people realize how tough it is at times?
No, it's tough. I don't think people realize how tough it is. It's very, very tough, but I would find work in a normal job even tougher now.
Yeah, I guess you got autonomy. And I'm not saying is it worth it, because I think it's clear that it's worth it. But I'm also just want to manage the expectation. There's so many people out there like, oh, it's so easy. You just get rich quick, multimillionaire. So, well, you've got to be willing to do the work. Everyone I meet here, everyone I talk to, everyone I know through the academy, they've got a couple of prevalent themes. They've got the resilience, but they've got the work ethic as well. They're willing to do the work and they're willing to learn. And they're not coming in. I think you need enough healthy amount of ignorance to go into something and be like, yeah, it's going to be fine. And then once you're in it, it's like, well, I'm halfway through a deal. I can't pull out now, even if stuff is hitting the fan. It's like, now we've got to figure it out. And that's what I think success looks like in property. It's being a very good problem solver and having people around you that have solved a lot of the problems before.
Yeah.
So you can call on them and draw on them. One thing, we've touched on your age and also you're female. Do you think as a female in property, it's different? Is there much different? Do you think that you can achieve the same? Do you find that people interact different? Again, not a loaded question. I've got no idea how you'll answer that.
No, to be fair. So I would probably go into a networking event up in North, and in Durham, Darlington, you're probably looking at 5 women in the room out of a room of 30. So there's definitely a lower amount of people doing it. But I wouldn't say that because I'm female, it stops me or stops anything that I've done.
And age plays into it? Or not really?
I think a lot of, this might just be my perception because I'm quite young, I think a lot of people are wary of not necessarily investing, but taking advice from someone that's a little bit younger. So like somebody that's wanting to manage their own. I get a lot of questions asked of what sites are you going on, what are you doing, how are you optimizing things, and I'll have a conversation with them, but they won't go and implement it because I don't think they actually think that what I'm saying's like gonna happen or it's done. So I would say maybe it's my perception. I think it's a little bit harder because I don't have as much belief from the older generation that realistically I work with most days. Because I would say in the industry now, I probably don't know another female that's my age heavily investing. And I've never been out networking and seen anybody networking that's that young, but I don't think it ever stops you.
No, I'm a big believer, but he's also a middle-aged white man. I don't want to be ignorant either in what I say, but I'm a big believer that, in property, if you do the work, you get the results. Doesn't matter what you look like, where you came from, how old you are, whether you're male or female, to an extent, right? In terms of landlords, it's roughly 50-50 split, 51-49 between male and female. So it's actually a fairly even split in that sense. But then I guess what I'm trying to unpack is what your view is, because there might be someone sitting there going, oh, it's all right for her, it's all right for him, it's all right at that age, it's all right at this age. I guess if I put it a different way, if you think about all of the people in the academy that are doing incredible things, is there any theme on age, gender, ethnicity?
No, none. We have a real mixed bunch within the academy. We literally you look for a person in that academy and they're going to be there pretty much. There is a real mix of people.
I think there's it's interesting for me to see, because it's not like there's one type of person who wants to do property. Pretty much everyone in this country knows that property is a great investment, wants to be involved. And the question, I think the common denominator is never gender or age. From what I see, it's normally just, again, willingness to learn, willingness to believe in themselves and bet on themselves. Back to what you said as well. Awesome stuff. Well, Ellie, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your journey. I am incredibly intrigued to see where you go for the next year, 5 years, 10 years. I'm convinced that 5 years from now, your life will be unrecognizable to you. And I'd like you to refer back to this statement 5 years from now and be like, oh, this is what he meant.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it will. But also thank you, because I think you provide a lot of inspiration, and we need people like yourself who are willing to bet on themselves, are willing to make hard decisions, are willing to learn, are willing to blaze the path, are willing to get told no and keep on fighting, so that other people can look and see and realize, oh, this is possible. I don't need people to know with absolutely categorically they can do it. My goal is that people actually believe at a deeper level, this is possible for me if I take the steps. You don't have to take a billion steps at once. You have to take one step at a time and trust the process, to paraphrase a lot of what we've been talking about, and know that you will get the result. Whether it's in 9 months you get 4 properties, or in 9 days you get 1, or in whatever, but keep on going until you get the result. Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Brilliant. Back in 5 years to give you my new life.
Might even get you back before then. We'll see.